Am I really going to have to sit on this game for the next 4 years? I'm so disappointed. Hello everyone and welcome back. As you can tell, the Socceroos lost. Yeah, the Socceroos have been knocked out of the World Cup via penalties to Egypt in the round of 32. A very, very gut-wrenching end to the World Cup. You know, penalties are an ugly way to go out. It is what it is. If you go through, it's jubilation. If you get eliminated, it's utter despair. And in this case, we have been knocked out. I just can't help but feel like this game approached in a more methodical manner. We could have got more out of this game. Tony Popovic, I think he has a lot to account for off the back of today. I really do. I think his pragmatism, I think his apprehension to take any sort of risk, I think his illogical tactical setup, operating without a striker in back-to-back World Cup games. What are we doing? What are we doing here? This is the best crop of Socceroos we've had since our golden generation in 06. Seriously, from 2010, 14, 18, 2022, none of those squads had the caliber of players that we had today. But ultimately, an over-reliance on not losing has cost us at the World Cup in a game that, with all due respect to Egypt, who deserved to win, by the way, they were the better team, but we should have done better because that was poor. One shot on target, lads, in 120 minutes of football. All the goodwill that came out of that opening match day against Turkey gone out the window because from then on, we were absolutely diabolical. The only goal that we got in the next 3 games was an own goal. 1 own goal in 3 games. No desire to score. I just can't. And it all starts from the starting 11, the same as last match day against Paraguay, a match that we drew 0-0 and created little to no chances over the course of 90 minutes. But Popper insisted on playing this exact same lineup, and sure, defensively, it was solid. It got the job done. It got us to the round of 32, but where are the goals coming from? Nestori Irankunda as a 9? Irankunda is not a striker. He's never been a striker. He doesn't know how to play as a number 9. Sure, he's rapid, but I much prefer him on the wing where he can actually cause havoc in those channels than back to goal as a 9. It's just not his, it feels unnatural. He doesn't have the positional awareness to make an impact. I thought Volpato was fantastic today. For me, he is the most technically gifted attacking player we've possessed since, honestly, since Harry Kewell. Maybe Tommy Rogic would fall into that category, but I like that he's got a bit of arrogance. I like that he takes risks. You know, you saw it early on, having a crack from 30 yards, hitting the crossbar. How good was that? That's what I want to see in my front 3 players. But apart from those early moments, we were pretty poor to start off, and we were on the back foot early on, conceding a sloppy goal off the back of a set piece. I look at this back 5 and I'm thinking, wow, okay, maybe we're lacking in the creativity department, but I tell you what, we're not losing headers. We're not conceding sloppy goals like that. 1-0 down from a ball into the box. That is unacceptable from the back 5 there. How does that happen? Irankunda's got 2 players unmarked at the back post, and sure, he doesn't get there, but it's like he's got 2 players unmarked. Where is the organization there? It just went out the window. And like the US game, we're chasing. Ironically, maybe that was a good thing for us because without that sense of urgency, this Socceroos team has no willingness to take risks, to drive forward, to try and create chances. And when we are chasing a goal, it's like outside of Volpato, we don't really have any attacking threat. Like Connor Metcalf did a great job against Turkey, but he was playing in that kind of inverted right side role. On the left side of the front 3, he's rather ineffectual. He doesn't have that same threat. I know he puts in a great shift, and I'm never going to fault his work rate. You know, he always puts in a top shift whenever he reps the Socceroos jersey. I'm just thinking, why didn't Popper have the guts to play Irankunda on the left and Mo Toure up front? This man has been prolific in the championship ever since moving in January. He was unreal in the opening match day against Turkey, held the ball well, linked up play well with his 2 wingers or wide players in attack, but in game 2, he has to lead a line with Velupile and Lecky, and so he can't really do much, and then Popper just loses trust in him from then on. Okay, fine, we'll play a winger up top. A winger up top that's never played as a striker, doesn't even know how to play as a striker. Irankunda literally came out in the press conference slating Popper for his decision to play him there. And yet he insists on doing it. I ultimately think it came down to, we just showed too much respect to Egypt today. Popper set this team up today as if we were playing prime France or prime Spain, you know? It's so disappointing. It didn't help that probably our most lively player on the pitch outside of Volpato, I would say Jordi Boss, right? so much energy, player that brings mobility to the side. To see him get a really nasty injury on the stroke of halftime, that looked like a bad one. I hope it's not too serious, but it didn't look good. There was one replay where it was like, oh, that was a very nasty, like, hyperextension of the legs. So he comes off at halftime. We're a goal down. We're chasing. But luckily, the second half came round and we finally put a decent delivery into the box. And it's 1-1. That bloke that suffered a concussion like a minute prior ended up putting it into his own net. So you feel for him there. But after that moment, once again, the complacency set in. It's like, okay, job well done. We got our goal. We got the draw. Well done, lads. Yeah. Well, hang on. We're not winning this game. This is a do or die clash. We got to win this. So it was very disappointing to see us kind of revert to that same style of essentially trying not to lose, because that's what it was. Then at around like 70 minutes in, Popper makes some subs and he takes off Irankunda, and it's like, okay, he hasn't had the best of games. Playing out of position, I didn't expect much. Okay, you're bringing in Motore, love that. But you're taking off Volpato, you're taking off our one creative outlet that is actually willing to take on his man, to show some semblance of urgency in the final third. And you bring him on for Aiden Hrustic, who is a very good player in terms of his technical ability, but is someone that lacks athleticism and mobility, right? In that final third, whenever he was in possession, he just didn't look like scoring. You know, none of our substitutions really made much of an impact. Trewin came in, he did a good job, apart from like the first 5 seconds where Egypt almost scored in the second half. It was evident that the most impactful subs on the pitch came from Egypt. When they brought on Trezeguet, put him out to the left, and they brought on Hassan and moved him to the right wing, you had these perennial inverted winger threats just running at us constantly, causing panic. And late on, they came so close to winning this match, but Patrick Beach came to the rescue with a phenomenal save. What a tremendous tournament this guy has had, man. Look, regardless of what happened today, I've got nothing but praise for the man in goal to dethrone our skipper, our leader, a goalkeeper in the form of his life, you know, to come in and make such an impact. I got nothing but praise. But yeah, man, extra time was dreadful. We didn't create any serious threats. The front three of Toure, Mabil, and Hrustic were really poor today. I don't want to be too critical to them, but it was just dull. Second, like, if anyone was going to score, it was Egypt. Popper, who's been renowned for making big calls all tournament, then made a huge one, right? Taking Patrick Beach off for Matty Ryan, which is interesting. It was almost like a reverse Peru. Remember, in that pivotal World Cup qualifier many years ago, Matty Ryan was actually subbed out for Andrew Redmayne, and he produced a legendary moment in Australian football history. So that was interesting, you know, a bit confusing. However, we can't forget that Matty Ryan also won a penalty shootout in the Asian Cup. I think it was against like Uzbekistan or something back in the day. So he does have credentials when it comes to saving penalties. But my whole take on penalties is like, it is what it is. I'm not going to hold ill will to players who miss it. I'm not going to hold ill will to the goalkeeper. On another day, Egypt missed 2 penalties. We score all 4. That being said, questions do need to be answered about who specifically stepped up in this shootout, because Harry Suter, our 6'8" centre-back, stepping up first. I'm just thinking of all the players we could opt for to put us on the front foot in a shootout. Harry Suter. No disrespect to Harry Suter. He's been a colossus all tournament, but I would have assumed he'd be one of the last to step up. And same thing with Lucas Harrington. You know, what a performance this lad put in all game against Paraguay. I love the guy. 18 years old and stepping up in a penalty shootout in the World Cup. This man's got some cojones about him, but his penalty hit the bar. So be it. Again, though, I'm left wondering, why didn't Motore step up? Why didn't Hrustic step up? You know, where are the attacking players taking that responsibility? I know maybe Hrustic was 5th or maybe Toure was 5th, but ultimately one of those players wasn't in the 5. And I can't help but scratch my head at that. I can't recall a time I've ever seen 2 centre-backs in your opening 5 spot kicks in a penalty shootout. It is what it is. We missed 2. Egypt slotted all theirs. Matty Ryan, you know, he came close to saving 2 of them. Probably should have got that Salah one, but like, again, on another day, he saves it. I don't hold any criticism to Ryan. I feel for him in the end, because having been dropped and not playing a minute all tournament to come in, he could have had a real special moment in his Socceroos career. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. In the end, I can't help but feel aggrieved by this performance. I'm sorry, maybe this is too emotional, and it probably is to a degree, but I think we showed Egypt way too much respect today. Way too much respect. This same Egypt team got outplayed by New Zealand for like 50 to 60 minutes. They beat them in the second half, but for large periods, they struggled. They got dominated by Iran. And okay, they put in a good performance against Belgium, but I keep going back to the point. This wasn't an unbelievable powerhouse nation that we have lost to. This was a team at our level. The bulk of this squad are domestic players from Egypt. And again, I'm not saying this to be bitter to the Egyptian players, because guess what? These Egyptian players largely outplayed the Socceroos. They had way more personality on the pitch. They had a genuine intent to score throughout the 120 minutes, and they deserve to go through. Congratulations to Egypt. They absolutely deserve to go through. But I think serious questions need to be answered about this Socceroos team, because bar that Turkey performance, this was a poor tournament in my opinion. Okay, Paraguay, they got a result against Germany, so I guess that point wasn't all that bad, but I haven't been convinced. Some of Popper's decision making is so irrational. His unwillingness to play with a recognized striker is just like, you are communicating to your opponents that, hey, we're going to try and sit back and just hit you on the counter. We're scared of you. We're not going to try and take this game to you. We're just going to play in a low block and hope for the best. It worked wonders against Turkey, but now I look back on that game and just think, was that a Socceroos masterclass, or was that a Patrick Beach masterclass? Was that just an absolute disaster from Turkey on the day? Because they had like almost 30 shots. Beach made like 9 saves that day. You know, on another day we get hammered 4 or 5-0. So I don't know. I feel like this is such a talented team. I mean, it's still missing key things. I think we're very light in midfield. Ocon showed a lot of promise. I think he'll grow in the next 4 years or so. Aidan O'Neill gave a great account of himself this tournament. And Jackson Irvine put in a shift whenever he was required. But I think someone like him is a little bit technically limited in terms of his ability to dictate the pace in the middle of the park. Bar Volpato, not good enough. Iran Kunda had a cracker in the opening game, but he was misused and was ineffectual in the next 2 games. I don't think Iran Kunda is necessarily responsible for that. I think that's Popper. That's Popper, man. He has a reputation for being very negative, very pragmatic, and we saw it all tournament. We found the back of the net once after that opening game, and it was an own goal. And I think that speaks volumes. I know you'll hear a lot of pundits and a lot of people in Australian football media in the days and weeks ahead talking about how proud they were of this team, but ultimately, I'm not, because I think they're better than what they showed today. I think they're capable of more as a team, and I think the Socceroos, if we want to progress as a footballing country, we need to have more respect for ourselves, you know? We can't just play this like haram ball, defend for our lives, and just pray that Iran Kunda can whip out a freak goal out of nowhere. No, we have to show some actual intent to win games. And we didn't show that I don't think we showed that in really any game. Okay, the Turkey one, sure, but even then, we were very lucky that day. So yeah, that's it. World Cup over. Very disappointed. I don't know. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on this. Socceroos fans, let me know. Neutrals, let me know. I can't imagine this was a particularly enjoyable game to watch as a neutral, but I'm curious because watching this through a Socceroos tinted lens, it really stings to watch, but I'd imagine as a neutrals, you'd be like, oh, thank God that game's over. It was a bit of a punish. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you stuck around to the end, we'll have DMAC Daily dropping in, I don't know, probably a couple hours later. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.